let's see. Without getting into too many spoilers, and just to be quite honest, like when I first, heard that okay, we're going to do a Wonder Woman movie, like a fan, I was thinking like, okay, what was it going to be about? No, this is going to be this big moment and this big thing, right? And when I read it, I was a little bit sort of like, this is the story we're going to do, right? So, in talking to James about this story, because it is an in continuity, thing with his continuity of movies, right? So for him, this was a chance to sort of delve into sort of the, we all know about like Superman, right? And his cast of characters and where he's from, right? His whole thing is like, I'm from Kansas. I have a moral center. There's my parents, to Kent. There's Lois Lane, there's Jimmy Olsen, there's Perry White, and you understand who he is and the people around him. Same thing obviously for Batman, but Wonder Woman kind of doesn't have that, right? She's sort of this sort of enigma that doesn't have really people around her, right? And so I think James wanted to sort of explore her mythology a little more as far as like, her people, like where does she live? Who are the people she hangs out with? The Steve Trevors, the Eddie Candys, and so I don't know. I think once I sort of understood, kind of what the story was about, I sort of just got involved and kind of like, okay, let's just tell this story and flesh out her world a little bit more. Yeah.
You've done so many of these now at this point. Was there what was the learning curve from starting to do the DC animated movies, and what did you learn over this time that now you're using for the newer ones that you're doing?
It's hard because I think that despite kind of whatever it is, I think they're just like, how do you tell a good story? I think that obviously superhero stories are about like the journey of the hero, right? And it's usually you're overcoming something, or you're championing something, or you're fighting for something that for the sake of other people. And so I think it's just a matter of just how do you tell a heroic story. What are things that universally sort of resonate with people. Just even little things like are they running or do they? Like one of the silly things is that I remember James likes to say is always like the hero should never run. Even if it's coming into a scene, they shouldn't be running from something. They should be pushed back into something or defending something. Things like that. So. Again, I think it's just like any other kind of story. It really is, especially with me. I feel like the thing that and this is just my own opinion, right? I think the heart is more important than the action, and so I think for me, it's getting to the heart of kind of who this character is and what they're going through and how do they, work through that. The fights are important as well, obviously, because I think that is for most people but I kind of feel like the thing that, after we make these movies, a lot of things that we read about, it's never really about the fights, but how cool this, sometimes it's like, oh, this is the coolest fight, but I was like, oh, what about these other fights that we toiled over and sweated over, but it's usually about the character, it's usually about, what happens to them, what they stand for, what they did right or wrong, that kind of stuff, so, I think as I've gotten older and the more that I've kind of done these, I'm really trying to find the emotional truths behind the characters. About sort of where we are now, with a lot of the movements and things like that. But again, I'm not even obviously saying that in a bad way. I think it's great, and not just gender, but racial and things like that, And so it's funny. I was just thinking back about when I was doing this about 10 years ago with another director, Lauren Montgomery. I'm not sure if you know who she is, but she was a Disney person, and I'm a drama person. You know what I mean? And we used to laugh about how I think it'd be funny if the fans, that sort of watch these things, kind of realize really what we would love to do. She likes to tell kind of again, these sort of like touching Disney kind of stories, and I love these really dramatic, emotional type of movies and stuff like that. So I mean, I think just being a time now where issues matter. I think it's great. I mean, I've always tried to push my stuff a little bit, into that kind of arena. Yeah. Okay. Great. Because I don't know. James used to always say that, whichever director sometimes we do rotations with, he'd always say that I'm like a winter movie guy. Like I'm not the summer blockbuster guy. You know what I mean? I'm the guy that tells the sort of touching. I'm after the emotional core of things and stuff like that. Yeah, I think it's a great time. Yeah.
How would you describe the tone of the film? Obviously, the DC films, some are light, some are slightly darker.
Right.
What sort of tone do you think you're going for with Bloodlines?
I think it's not overly cartoony. It's not overly, I think it's just like the sort of typical serious drama. I don't even know if it's classic because again, like I feel like the movie is more of a chapter than it is sort of like this epic, one-off tale kind of thing. It stems from the start of something in the continuity, and it fleshes it out a little bit, and it sort of catches her back up to sort of like where she's at type of thing.
The thing that has been consistent in the DC animated movies is their length, and often the story suffers from their short length. Don't you think it's time that Warner should do longer movies, especially in this case?
Yeah, I mean, this starts going into the other thing that's outside the creative, right? Because Warner's is a business, and they think of there are certain people that are specifically their job is to think of how much money do we want to spend on this, how much, and the extra time costs more money, the extra people cost more money, and how much are we willing to pay for animation, right? So. This is a little behind the scenes too, but I think that right now they're having a conversation a little bit about that. I don't know if it's going to necessarily affect length, but I think we're finally catching up a little bit more of like, maybe them paying a little bit more money just because we've been using a system that's 15, 20 years old, and there's so much work that's going on. In order to get even the level of animation back up to kind of where it used to be, we have to pay more money. I think they're finally starting to see a little bit of that. So hopefully it'll show, but it's difficult because a lot of it has to do with the climate of the industry, but also it's hard trying to come up with epic stories that are very, very tight all the time when you're overlapped with so many things. Like right now I'm working on 2 movies, like a post for one and a pre on the other, and these last couple of months it's been absolutely nuts because I have 2 stories in my head that I have to edit right on top of each other, so it makes it, I think a lot of us are very fatigued, so but the length of it is something that has to do with the idea, like we are only allowed a certain amount of feet and frames, that we're contracted to get. So a lot of them we try to extend by, putting more holds and things like that, but legally we have one number that we're always, this is the maximum we can ship it at. So, sorry, that was very technical.
Building on what you were talking about, worrying about telling a good story in the beginning, when you guys start a project like this, is there any fear about disappointing the fans, or are you more worried about just telling a good story, or where does the fan reaction lie in your discussion?
It's both. I mean, I think we start by, again, it's difficult because now that I'm sort of stepping more into the producing thing, it's just like, I mean, the scariest thing is going like, okay, your movie's up next, you got a movie next, what do you want to do? And you're like, I got to come up with a story, or like, maybe, you try to go, well, let's see what the writer kind of does, and you try to sort of see like what you can kind of get, and then you hope, you just start making stuff. You know what I mean? So sometimes I wish we had a little more time to sort of think about what we're doing. Do you know what I mean? Instead of it kind of coming so quickly. And so we've been very lucky. I feel like, again, I give a lot of credit to obviously the people in the heads like the Bruce Timms and the James Tuckers, because even with this pace, we've been able to sort of, for the most part, come out with movies I kind of feel like they've done pretty well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we do think about, you know, fan-wise, like obviously we're, you know, if we make something crappy, we're going to get crucified. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So we're always concerned about that. But sometimes you're kind of like, I think this is kind of good, and kind of this is a story where you know, either one of us likes or something we can get behind, and we're just gonna have to try it. Because
Right.
I think also it's difficult because I think like, you know, all the fans like you know, they're gonna have different opinions, or their list of which is the best movie or what's the worst movie is going to be different, like every
Yes.
single one of them, right? So you can't please everybody, and we understand that. And so a lot of times we just try to please ourselves. You know, like, do we feel like we did the best we could? Do we feel like, you know, sometimes again we get great scripts and you're just like, oh, that's so good, but sometimes you're like, ah, this one's not as good, and we just try to make the best we can.